Let's be real. High conflict is about as welcome as a surprise meeting on a Friday afternoon. But high conflict situations, those are the boss level disagreements where logic seems to take a coffee break and emotions run the show. The problem here is most of us have been fed some serious myths about high conflict situations, and it makes them even harder to navigate. So by the end of this video, we will bust some of the biggest misconceptions and uncover the truth with a sprinkle of statistics that keeps things legit. The first myth is high conflict people just need more facts. You'd think if you just lay out the data, you present your case like a lawyer, and back it all up with solid evidence, the other person, they would finally see the reason, right? Couldn't be more wrong. According to the conflict resolution expert Bill Eddy, he was the founder of High Conflict Institute. People with high conflict tendencies, they often operate from an emotional rather than a logical standpoint. And there was a study in the Journal of Conflict Resolution that found that when emotions are heightened, individuals process information differently, often filtering out anything that contradicts their existing beliefs. So, the next time that you're tempted to break out the PowerPoint slides to convince someone, save yourself the trouble. High conflict situations require emotional management first, and then logic second. Myth number 2, avoiding conflict will make it go away. So we'd all love to run for the hills from conflict, right? The good old ignore it and disappear strategy. It works great for unopened emails, but not so much for high conflict situations. Research from the Harvard Negotiation Project, they found that avoidance often escalates conflict rather than diffusing it. And you might ask why? It's because unresolved tension doesn't vanish. It simmers, it grows, and it eventually erupts. I think that we've all been there, right? Sometimes when we're in a high conflict situation that we're trying to avoid, it also just plays on our mind, right? So it's like the elephant in the room, and it's something we're always thinking about. So instead of ghosting the issue, consider addressing it early with structured communication techniques, like using I statements and setting clear boundaries. I know for many years I tried to avoid high conflict situations, and then I just learned that it was just easier to take the pain and deal with it head on just to get past it. So don't avoid it, hit it dead on. Myth number 3, being nice will calm a high conflict person. This couldn't be any more from the truth. If only it could be that easy, right? While kindness is always a good policy, being overly accommodating can actually encourage more conflict-driven behavior. And a study published in Personality and Individual Differences revealed that people with high conflict personalities, they often interpret excessive niceness as a weakness, and it leads them to push even harder and take advantage of you. So the trick here is be respectful, but be firm. Setting clear, consistent boundaries is more effective than trying to pacify someone who thrives on drama, believe it or not. So when you're too nice or you're not setting boundaries, they look at it like you are open season to go and push and to even abuse you even more. Myth number 4 is high conflict situations are just a personality problem. That is not true either. It's easy to label a high conflict person as simply difficult and call it a day. But high conflict situations aren't always about personality. Context really matters here. So research in the psychological science found that factors like stress, perceived threats, and social dynamics can turn even the most level-headed person into a conflict magnet. So understanding this can help you depersonalize the situation and focus on the problem solving rather than finger pointing. So how often do you see this? I see it all the time, especially in the workplace and work environments, right? It's not necessarily that the people there are difficult. The situation is difficult, but when it's not managed correctly, it just becomes a finger pointing game, right? So instead of it becoming that way, let's try to break down the high conflict situation in bits and pieces and to maybe attack it from different ways or different levels or with different people in a way that we feel like we're collaborating rather than pointing fingers, so that we can solve the problem for all of us and we all can be in a better place. Myth number 5 is winning the argument will end the conflict. So many people go into high conflict situations like it's a courtroom drama, thinking that if they just win, the whole ordeal will be over. But in reality, conflict resolution isn't about winning at all. It's about managing and de-escalating. The Harvard Business Review highlights that lasting resolutions come from mutual understanding, not from dominance. And the best way to win is to focus on the solutions that work for both parties, rather than just proving a point. How often have we been in situations where we felt like we won the argument, but we feel bad inside? So let's try to maybe look at solutions that work for both parties, or at least appear to work for both parties, and that everyone's walking away without that awful feeling and that conflict when it is still kind of looming, even though you feel like it's resolved. So some final thoughts here. The real key to handling high conflict situations really does not have to be a never-ending battle. The key is to understanding the patterns at play and responding strategically rather than emotionally. So we have to take the emotions out of the equation. I know that's really hard. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and sometimes when it's something that's really close to me, I get very emotional about things. So if you're with me, I totally get you. Whether it's in the workplace, whether it's at home or online, hello, social media, right? Approaching conflict with awareness and skill, it can make all of the difference. So the next time that you find yourself in a high stakes disagreement, remember, facts don't always win. Avoidance doesn't help either, and being firm but fair is your best bet. Now go forth and navigate those conflicts like a pro. So if you had any high conflict stories or any strategies that worked for you, share them in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and I'd love to add them to this list. So if you found this content valuable, please consider sharing, please consider subscribing, and I will see you all in the next video.